The NRDC Action Fund always knew the 2014 election cycle would be difficult, but one thing remains consistent. Voters want action on climate change. In fact, exit polling showed 6 in 10 voters believe climate change is a serious problem. We know that candidates who run clean will cut through the deceptive ads and be supported by voters who want a cleaner environment. As part of our 2014 election analysis, we bring you the environmental champions in their own words. I'm Heather Taylor Measley, and this is Running Clean with U.S. Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii. How do voters in Hawaii view clean energy and environmental issues, and how did those views play into your race?
Well, I brought it up as much as I possibly could. Look, we pay 3 times, sometimes 4 times the national average in Hawaii for burning low sulfur fuel oil for electricity. It just makes no sense. It's the dirtiest and most expensive proposition that we could possibly find. And so we are moving very fast in the direction of clean energy. We've more than tripled clean energy development over the last 5 years, and we're going to make our clean energy goals, which seemed sort of pie in the sky 7 or 8 years ago when they were passed into statute on the local level. And so we are fast becoming an example for the rest of the country, not just on a national legislative level, but even on a state-by-state level, to show that you can move towards clean energy and you can drive unemployment down and you can drive innovation up. And so it's something I was happy to talk about on the campaign trail, and it's something that Republicans, Democrats, and independents feel passionate about in Hawaii.
Your concern for the environment has been very prominent and documented. Can you talk a little bit about how you originally became interested in these issues and why you selected these issues as part of, your main platform in the Senate?
I got involved in environmental activism when I was a teenager, trying to save Sandy Beach from an inappropriate development, and now that is called the Kaiwi Coastline Park. And so that was my first foray into politics. But the reason that I put my name forward and the reason that I'm proud to serve is because I really do think we need more leadership in the area of climate. It is the greatest challenge of our generation. It's an obligation that we have to the next generation. It's also an obligation that we have as Americans. America has always led when the rest of the world needs our leadership. And this is an area where President Obama is doing the right set of things, and we can set an example for the rest of the planet. Moving into the Paris talks, we're really moving in the right direction, and I'm proud to be part of that.
Republican leaders in the Senate appear poised to attack every bedrock environmental law this session. How will you work with other senators on both sides of the aisle to protect clean air, water, wildlife, and special places?
Well, I think we need to know what their strategy is, and their strategy is very simple. It's going to be death by 1,000 cuts. They are going to attach odious environmental provisions to what they call must-pass bills. So it's going to be any legislation that we feel urgently must pass and be enacted by the president. Now, we have a president who's very strong on these issues and has immediately issued veto threats for these kinds of environmental riders. People like Barbara Boxer have been fighting these riders for decades and decades, but we need to know that that's going to be their game, is death by 1,000 cuts, and we need to be ready for the fight.
While clean energy and clean air tend to pull well across the board, certain groups such as young voters, women, and ethnic minorities tend to support these things at even greater levels. Why do you think these issues resonate so greatly for these groups?
Well, I'm not sure exactly why it resonates so strongly, especially with young voters, but I think it is fair to say that Republicans understand the bind that they are in. They don't want to move forward with clean energy, and yet they know that they risk losing a new generation of voters. And I think of where we are in climate sort of like where we were with gay rights 4 or 5 years ago, that at some point you will just be disqualified from running for office in the eyes of the voter if you don't have a reasonable position on the facts of climate change. There's plenty of room for us to have a disagreement about what is the proper way to contend with this problem, whether it be through a regulatory approach or a fee on carbon or a more market-based approach that might be propounded by the Republicans. But I don't think there's a lot of room among voters for someone who pretends that this problem doesn't exist.
What role did spending by the fossil fuel industry play into your race? And do you think their efforts resonated with voters?
what we've found is that people really support candidates who support clean energy. But part of that is because the political infrastructure nationwide is being put together to make sure that the fossil fuel industry doesn't just run over clean energy candidates and clean energy organizations. So NRDC Action, LCV, and others have really put together the capability to have the back of pro-climate action candidates, and that's made all the difference.